Good morning.
Okay, are you having any other classes? Why just there are just 45 members? Okay, anyway, I have to start the class. So last class we started with endocrinology, and these are some important pictures. Okay, which you have to study, and I'll give the pictures. So the last class we learned about the pituitary gland. Okay, and the pituitary gland is always related with the hypothalamus. Okay, the another name of pituitary gland is hypophysis. Okay, the pituitary gland is about 1 centimeter in diameter and 0.5 gram in weight. It is located on the base, and there are two types: the anterior pituitary glands and posterior pituitary glands. Okay, we studied all these things in the last class. I'm just repeating. So between the anterior and posterior pituitary glands, there's relatively a vascular zone that is called as pars intermedia. It is much larger and more functional in some lower animals. So these are just details. It's about anterior pituitary hormones and their hypothalamic hormones and the relevant target organs, and the final column is about primary target organ hormone or mediator. Okay, fine. There are 6 major anterior pituitary hormones, okay? And there are 2 posterior pituitary hormones. Okay, yeah. Can anyone tell us what are the anterior pituitary hormones? 2020 AG note 4. You can just see and at least read. Savintya Dilini. What are the anterior pituitary hormones?
Control of metabolic functions.
No. I ask you what are the, just you can just list the hormones.
Growth hormone.
Yes.
Adrenocorticotropic, thyroid stimulating hormone, prolactin, gonadotropin hormone.
Okay, fine. Okay, can anyone tell what is the function of growth hormones? Okay, we didn't study it yet, we didn't finish it yet. Anyway, with the word growth hormone, what can you understand? What is the main function of this growth hormone? With this word, what can you understand? What is the main function?
Growth.
Okay. So the other one is adrenocorticotropin. Okay, 2020 AG note 10. Xavier, he or she answered, stimulating the development and growth of the cells. Very good. Somewhat perfect answer. And okay, the third hormone is thyroid stimulating hormone. Okay, thyroid stimulating hormones. What is the main function of this hormone? Oh, which is the main gland it is stimulating? Thyroid. Okay, Tania, your answer is correct. So it's going to stimulate the thyroid gland for the production of thyroxine. The fourth one is prolactin. Okay. The fifth one is gonadotrophic hormones. There are two: FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, and LH, luteinizing hormones. Okay. These are related to the reproductive organs, both ovary as well as the testes. So the last two hormones are posterior pituitary hormones. Okay, there are two types in the pituitary glands, anterior one and the posterior one. So these two are the posterior pituitary hormones, but here you have to note one thing. The final two hormones, ADH, or it can be also called as vasopressin, and oxytocin. This ADH and oxytocin will be released by the posterior pituitary hormones, but produced by the hypothalamus. Okay. These two hormones, ADH as well as oxytocin, is produced by the hypothalamus, and from there it will be transported to the posterior pituitary gland and it will be released in the posterior pituitary gland. Okay. If you had a question on the quiz paper, just like ADH and oxytocin is produced by the posterior pituitary gland, that is wrong, because it is not produced in the posterior pituitary gland. It is just released. So these hormones are produced in hypothalamus. Okay. These are the things relevant to pituitary hormones, and so these are each and every functions of the growth hormones, and all the pituitary hormones. So growth hormones, it's obvious growth. It's promoting the growth of entire body by affecting the protein formation. That means it is helping in the protein synthesis or the production of proteins. And it is also helping the cell multiplication, okay, and cell differentiation. And ACTH that control the secretion of some of the adrenocortical hormones, okay, that can affect the metabolism of glucose, protein, and fats. So again, ACTH can control the secretion of some adrenocortical hormones. That hormones can control the metabolism of glucose and proteins and fats. TSH, obvious in the word, thyroid stimulating hormones. It controls the secretion of thyroxine, and also triiodothyronine by the thyroid gland. Okay, it will stimulate the thyroid gland and it will control the production of rate of secretion of two hormones such as thyroxine and triiodothyronine. And also these hormones can control the rate of most intracellular chemical reactions in the body. Okay, these are the functions of the pituitary hormones which can come for your mid-examination, right? So prolactin for the product, it helps in the mammary gland development and milk production. FSH, okay, can anyone tell what is the expanded form of FSH? FSH means FO. I think I just said when studying with the last, okay, person. Okay, very good. So this is something 2020 AG010, your answer is correct. Follicle stimulating hormone. And 2020 AG006, your answer is correct. I think these two people are repeatedly answering. Okay, why others are not answering? Anyway, so these are the follicle stimulating hormones and luteinizing hormones. Okay, Shagari, your answer is also correct. So these control the functions of the reproductive This control the growth and functions of the reproductive organs such as ovaries and testes. ADH, so it controls the rate of water excretion in the urine. Okay, it controls the rate of water excretion. So it is deciding how much amount of water will be excreted through the urine or with the urine. So it helps in the control of the concentration of water in the body fluids. Okay, when there is much low concentration of water in the body fluid, the aid to the body. Okay, when there is excess water in the body fluid, the ADH will excrete the water from the body. So the ADH is very essential to maintaining the osmotic balance in our body. The other one is, the final one is oxytocin. Okay, it helps to express the milk from the gland. Okay, it will help to contract the alveoli and to release the milk from the body, from the gland. And during the birth, it also helps in the contraction of uterus too, and assist in the birth of the young one at the end of the gestation. So oxytocin is mainly contraction. So these are the cells, okay, containing this anterior pituitary gland consists of different type of cells that synthesize and secrete the hormones. So these are some of the main cell types: somatotrophs, corticotrophs, gonadotrophs, thyrotrophs, and lactotrophs. Okay, you can easily remember the names of these cells and the hormones which it secretes easily. Okay, the growth hormone also can be called as somatotrophins, and it is produced by somatotrophs. And here adrenocorticotropin is produced by corticotrophs. So from the word you can easily identify the cell types. And here the somatotrophs can stain strongly with the acid dyes. Okay, stains means it will get the color. So it can be easily stained with strong acid dye, and therefore it also can be called as acidophils. Okay, again the cell type somatotrophs can easily get stained strongly with acid dyes. Okay, dyes means the coloring agents, and therefore they are called as acidophils. Okay, 2020 AG154. 2020 AG154. Okay, at least any others, can you please tell why the somatotrophs are called as acidophils?
They stain with the acid dyes.
Very good. So there are some pituitary tumors, just like in cancer conditions, there will be a high level of the production of tumors, and the pituitary tumors which secretes large quantities of growth hormones can be called as acidophilic tumors. Okay, again, this growth hormones can be produced by somatotrophs, and the somatotrophs also can be called as acidophils because they easily can be get stained with the acid dyes. So the tumors that are producing large quantities of growth hormones can be called as acidophilic tumors. So here the names of these cells and the relevant hormones these cells produced is very important. Okay, 2020 AG note 612, your answer about the acidophils is correct. So this is hypothalamus. The picture of hypothalamus, and it controls the function of the pituitary glands, and the pituitary glands is controlling the function of various other glands like thyroid gland, and it is controlling the gonad through the production of FSH and LH, and it is also controlling the adrenal cortex with this production of ACTH. We can study this in details in coming slides. So now we can study about posterior pituitary hormones. Okay. What are the two posterior pituitary hormones? There are 6 anterior pituitary hormones and 2 posterior pituitary hormones. The hormones which are secreted by the posterior glands. What are those 2 hormones? Okay, very good. And thank you for the students who answered correctly. 2002 AG note 44, note 14, note 6, note 55, note 48, note 10. Okay, 116. Okay, all of your answers are correct. Here, the posterior pituitary hormones are synthesized by cell bodies in the hypothalamus. Okay, I already said. The posterior pituitary hormones are synthesized by hypothalamus and released by posterior pituitary gland. And the second point, the bodies of the cell that secrete the posterior pituitary hormones are not located in posterior gland, but their large neurons can be called as magnocellular neurons located in hypothalamus. Okay, simply the cell bodies that secretes the posterior pituitary hormones are located on hypothalamus. Okay, and these hormones then will be transported through some nerve fibers from the hypothalamus to the posterior pituitary gland. Okay, so the content of this slide is very simple. Okay, the first one, it said that the posterior pituitary hormones are produced by cell bodies in the hypothalamus, and these hormones will be transported to the posterior pituitary gland through some nerve fibers. Okay, just remember these things. That's enough. Okay, then you can go through this slide for about 2 minutes. I'll explain it later. Okay, I think you have gone through the slide. So the content is very simple. Almost all the secretions by the pituitary glands, okay, both anterior pituitary as well as posterior pituitary is controlled by either hormones and nervous signal from the hypothalamus. Okay, the first point, the pituitary gland is totally controlled by the hypothalamus. That can be through the hormones or through the nerve signals. Okay, we already studied that two hormones, ADH as well as oxytocin, is secreted from the posterior pituitary gland and produced by the hypothalamus. Here, the secretion of these posterior pituitary hormones is controlled by nervous signals, okay, that is originated from hypothalamus. Okay, these points, you can simply study these points, okay, don't complicate it. So the posterior pituitary hormones, the release of hormones from the posterior pituitary gland is controlled by nerve signals from the hypothalamus. Okay, and but the release of the hormones by the anterior pituitary gland is controlled by hormones that is secreted within the hypothalamus. Okay, so the name of these hormones is hypothalamic releasing and hypothalamic inhibitory hormones, also can be considered as called as hypothalamic releasing and hypothalamic inhibitory factors. Okay, these hypothalamic releasing and hypothalamic inhibitory hormones that are produced from the hypothalamus controls the secretion of anterior pituitary hormones. Okay, these hormones are produced by the hypothalamus and brought to the pituitary gland through the minute blood vessels called as hypothalamic hypophyseal portal vessels. Okay, I'm again going to explain this slide. Please listen carefully. Okay, the control of the secretions from the pituitary gland is completely depending on the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is controlling the release of hormones through either nervous signal or through hormones. Okay, the release of hormones by the posterior pituitary gland is controlled by the nervous signal of hypothalamus. But the release of hormones by the anterior pituitary gland is controlled by hormones produced by the hypothalamus. The name of the hormone is hypothalamic releasing and hypothalamic inhibitory hormone, and this hormone is transported through the vessels, blood vessels, called as hypothalamic, hypophyseal, and portal vessels. Okay, here I just want you to ask three questions. Okay, please all of you write the answer in the chat box, direct chat box for these questions. Okay, the first questions: through which ways the hypothalamus controls the pituitary glands? Okay, first question: through which ways hypothalamus controls the secretion of pituitary glands? Second, what is the name of, okay, please, not now, you have to write the three answers all together. Second questions, what is the name of hormone that is produced by the hypothalamus to control the secretion of anterior pituitary gland? Third questions, what is the name of minute blood vessels that transport the hormones from the hypothalamus to the anterior pituitary gland? Okay, please give the answers to all these three questions in your chat box. Shagari, Karthivan, correct? Okay. Sorry. Okay, Hanshani Hetiarachi, your answer is correct. Tanya, correct. And Belua is so correct. And Rushia Jamil, yes, your answer is correct. And okay, 2020, very good. And Kingsley, correct answer. Lashan, correct answer. Dizanaika, correct. And Bella, correct. Okay, but I expect the answers from all of you. Okay. Prabhaharan Kajian, then your answer is correct. Okay. So here, we all know in this anterior pituitary glands, this releasing inhibitory hormones, the releasing hormones as well as inhibitory hormones act on glandular cells to control their secretions. Okay, the hormones that are produced by the hypothalamus will act on the glandular cells of the anterior pituitary hormones that control their secretion. Okay, the target point of the hormone that is produced by the hypothalamus is glandular cells of anterior pituitary gland. Okay. Okay, now we know the hypothalamus controls the production of hormones of about the anterior pituitary glands through the nervous signals as well as through the hormones. But the question is, what makes the hypothalamus to produce these hormones and nervous signals? Okay. What is the reason the hypothalamus is stimulating the hormones of anterior and posterior pituitary glands? So the main reasons is this hypothalamus is receiving signals from many sources in the nervous system. Okay, the hypothalamus is a collection center about the internal well-being of the body. Okay, the information which is received by this hypothalamus is responsible for the production of nervous signals as well as the hormones from the hypothalamus that is controlling the pituitary hormones. Simply, the hypothalamus is collecting information from the body, and with that information, it is secreting the hormones and giving the nervous signals, and the anterior and posterior pituitary hormones is secreting the hormones. Okay, this just please try to understand the pathway. Okay, now we can study about the first hormones, that is the growth hormones. So, can anyone give what is the another name of this growth hormones? And what is the name of the cell that is producing this growth hormones? And there's one another name for that cell also. Okay, Satpunalingam Premnath, your answer is correct. GH is the short form of growth hormones. There is one another name. Okay, Janani Upeksha, your answer is correct, but check the spelling. Okay, anyway, we can look about it in coming slides. Very good. Vishmi Imalsha, your answer is correct. This is somatotrophy. Okay, let's look about the physiological function of growth hormones. Here the main, so this is one of the major hormone that is produced by the anterior pituitary gland, and it is exerting its main, the main function of this growth hormones is to stimulate the growth of body, and it is some exception with, it is having some exceptional characters with other hormones of anterior pituitary gland. Okay, because all the major anterior pituitary hormones will have their principal effect on a certain gland. Okay, they will have a target gland and they will stimulate the hormones from the target gland. But growth hormones will not have any specific target gland. Okay, it exerts its function directly, and it is affecting almost all tissues of the body. Okay, I'm again explaining. So all the other anterior pituitary hormones will have the effect on a specific target gland. Okay, for example, the TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, will affect the thyroid gland, and it will help for the secretion of thyroxine from the thyroid gland. So, wait, we already studied one chart. So here in this picture you can see, so the thyroid stimulating hormone, the main target organ is thyroid, and it helps for the production of thyroxine. Okay, and this ACTH, the main target organ is adrenal cortex, and it will helps for the release of androgens and glucocorticoids. So, but here, when considering growth hormones, but it is not having a specific target organ. Okay, it can exert its function in all over the body cells or tissues. So it also can be called as somatotrophin, and it's a small protein molecules. Okay, And what is the main building block of proteins? Anyone? Okay, very good. Amino acids. Very good. So it is having 191 amino acids in a single chain. Okay. Again, I'm repeating the growth hormone is not having any specific organ as other hormones of anterior pituitary gland. It can function in almost all the tissues of the body, and it is promoting for increasing the size of the cell, increased mitosis. Mitosis is a cell division. Okay, there is two type of cell divisions, mitosis and meiosis. It is helping in the mitosis, and it is helping in the increase in number as well as the cell differentiation. Okay, thank you for all the students who are answering. It's very happy to see that you are involved in the class. Okay, and the main function of the growth hormone is it is promoting the increasing the size of the cells, increasing the number of cells, and cell differentiation. And these are some of the other main functions of growth hormones. Okay, it will increase the rate of protein synthesis. That means the protein production. So it will enhance the body protein level. Okay, it also increases the mobilization. Mobilization means the transport, okay, moving from one place to another place. So it is increasing the mobilization of fatty acids from the adipose tissues, okay. That means adipose tissues means the fat tissues, okay, which will store the fat. But here, this growth hormones helps to mobilize the fatty acids from the adipose tissues. And it will increase the free fatty acids in blood. It will increase the use of fatty acids for energy purpose, and it will decrease the rate of glucose utilization. Please note one point. It is increasing the use of fatty acids for energy, but it is decreasing the rate of glucose utilization. So it is commonly using the fat stores, the fat that is already available in our body. Okay. So that's why it is mobilizing the fatty acids from the adipose tissues. And it conserves carbohydrates. So it is commonly mainly using the fat through the fat stores and conserving the carbohydrates. Okay. Please go through there are some other important functions of growth hormones. So it is also enhanced the amino acid transport. You all know what is amino acids. That's a building block of protein. And it is helping in the amino acid transport through the cell membrane. You know what is cell membrane? That is the outer portion of the cell. And this growth hormones also enhance the RNA translations and increase all the nuclear transcription of DNA to form RNA. Okay, these 2 points are very important for the protein synthesis. Okay, these are 2 main stages of protein synthesis. Okay, the first point, enhancement of RNA translation to cause protein synthesis by the ribosome. This is one of the RNA translation is one of the important part of protein synthesis. So the growth hormone is assisting in the protein synthesis by enhancing the RNA translation. Okay, just like this, the nuclear transcription also one of the main process of this protein synthesis. So the GH is assisting in protein synthesis with these two by enhancing these 2 main important activities. And it decreases the catabolism of protein and amino acids. Finally, growth hormone enhances almost all the facets of amino acid uptake and protein synthesis by cells, while at the same time reducing the breakdown of protein. So it is reducing the catabolism or breakdown of protein, and it is helping in almost all the process of protein synthesis by the cells. Okay, please just go through this slide and I will give you 5 minutes break. Okay, after that we can continue. Here the large molecules will be broken down into small molecules, right? The catabolism means here the large molecules will be broken down into small molecules. There are two kinds of metabolism, the catabolism and anabolism, okay? Slide is about how growth hormone is enhancing the fat utilization for energy. Okay, is the growth hormones causes the release of fatty acids from the adipose tissues. Okay, I already explained adipose tissues are the fat tissues. Okay, with this growth hormones is helping to the releasing of fatty acids from the adipose tissues. Okay, so because of this, there is an increase of concentration of fatty acids in the body fluid. Okay, the growth hormone is releasing the fatty acids from the adipose tissues, and there is an increased concentration of fatty acids in the body fluid. And this growth hormones also enhances the conversion. Okay, conversion means just a change. Conversion of fatty acids to acetyl-CoA enzyme, and it also assists in the subsequent utilization of these fatty acids for energy. So here you can notice one point: the growth hormone is using the or helping in the use of fat for the energy. Okay, under the influence of growth hormone, the fat is mainly used for the production of energy than the carbohydrates and proteins. Okay, again I'm explaining these points. So what the growth hormone is doing? It is helping to release the fatty acid from adipose tissues. There is an increased concentration of fatty acids in the body fluids because growth hormone is releasing the fatty acids from adipose tissues. And there is the conversion of this fatty acid to the acetyl-CoA, and there is a subsequent utilization of this fat for the energy. So under the influence of growth hormone, the fat is mainly used for the energy production than the carbohydrate and proteins. Okay, please go through this slide for about 2 minutes. Ketogenic effect of growth hormones. Cells. Okay, in excessive amount of growth hormones, fat mobilization from the adipose tissues sometimes becomes so great that the large quantities of acetoacetic acids are formed by the liver. Then this will be released in the body fluid, thus causing the ketosis. Okay, simply you must be able to define what is ketogenic effect of growth hormones. Ketogenic effect of the growth hormones means, again explaining in simple form, that means there will be more amount of fat mobilization from the adipose tissues. Okay, so which causes for the accumulation of acetoacetic acid by the liver, and that will cause a condition called as ketosis. Okay. The growth hormones also stimulates the cartilage and bone growth. Here the growth hormone is stimulating the increased deposition, okay? Increased deposition of protein and increased growth in almost all the tissues of the body, this general, because the growth hormone is assisting in protein synthesis, and it is stimulating the increased deposition of protein and increased growth increased deposition of protein in almost all cells. And it also increased the growth of skeletal frames. Skeletal frame means bones. There is multiple effect of growth hormones on the bone. That means the growth hormones affecting the bones in many ways. The first one is, once again, one intermediate substance is called as somatomedins, and the growth hormones is stimulating the liver, causes the liver to form these small proteins that is having an effect on bone growth. And the function of somatomedin is nearly same as the function of insulin. That's why somatomedins also can be called as insulin-like growth factors. There are 4 somatomedins that have been isolated in the laboratory conditions, and the most important of these somatomedins is somatomedin C. So in this picture, you can clearly understand the function. So the hypothalamus is controlling the release of anterior pituitary hormones and posterior pituitary hormones. There are main 6 anterior pituitary hormones, that is prolactin, that is functioning on mammary gland and assisting lactation. Then adrenocorticotropic hormones, that is functioning on adrenal cortex to release the adrenaline. Growth hormones, there is no any specific target organs. It can function all over the body, and it is functioning on the body cells, that is assisting in the growth, body growth, cell differentiation, cell multiplications, just like that. Thyroid stimulating hormone functioning on the thyroid gland, producing thyroxine. The main function of the thyroxine is to stimulation and the growth and also metabolism. These 2 hormones are FSH and LH, follicle stimulating hormones and luteinizing hormones. These can function on testes and ovaries, and that can assist in the production of androgens and also eggs. And these all are the hormones that are produced by the anterior pituitary glands. There are 2 other hormones that are produced by the posterior pituitary gland, that is ADH and oxytocin. This ADH will function on kidney, and it assists in the regulation of water levels. And the oxytocin will function in the uterus and also in the mammary gland for the release of milk, and uterus to assist in the contraction of the uterus to release the fetus. So release the young one from the uterus. So this is just another pictorial demonstration of the function of the pituitary gland. And now we can study about the posterior pituitary glands. Please go. Okay, I think you have gone through the slide. So the pituitary gland is commonly composed of cells called as pituocytes. And as I already said, this pituitary gland will not secrete any hormones. They just release the hormones from the hypothalamus. These pituocytes mainly support the structures, that means nerve fibers and nerve endings, that is originating from saproptic and paraventricular nuclei of the hypothalamus. Okay, in this picture you can see these two cells, saproptic cells and paraventricular nucleus. Okay, the main function of the posterior pituitary gland is supporting the nerve endings that is originating from these cells and passing through the pituitary stalk. So here, and again, I'm explaining the third point. The main function of the pituocyte is simply supporting the large number of terminal nerves or nerve ending that is originating from saprophytic and paraventricular nuclei. Okay, these tracts pass through the neurohypophysis through the pituitary stalk. Okay, these nerves, or which is originating from these cells, pass through the neurohypophysis, and the nerve ending, which is originating from here, these endings are bulbous knobs, and that contain many secretory granules. Okay, and these endings secrete the posterior pituitary hormones. We already studied that the anterior pituitary gland is controlled by the hormones, and the posterior pituitary gland is controlled by the nerve system. So nerves. So here in this picture, you can easily understand the saproptic nuclear cells and saproptic cells and paraventricular cells, and these are the cells from which the nerves originate. The nerve endings will be here in the posterior pituitary gland, and this nerve endings will be supported by pituocytes, and Here, nerve ending has some bulbous structures that will secrete the posterior pituitary hormones. So there are two main hormones that are secreted by the posterior pituitary gland, that is ADH and oxytocin. ADH is primarily formed by saproptic nuclei, and oxytocin is primarily formed by paraventricular nuclei. So this is one is saproptic nucleus and the other one is the paraventricular nucleus. So oxytocin and ADH are polypeptides. Okay, each consists of 9 amino acids. Okay, and these two hormones are almost identical. Okay, here we can study the physiological function of ADH, antidiuretic hormones. Okay, they can decrease the excretion of water by the kidneys. Okay, they are decreasing the release of water or excretion of water by the kidneys. So when there is absence or when there is low concentration of ADH, the collecting tubules and ducts, those are the parts of nephron of the kidney, become almost impermeable to water, which prevent the significant reabsorption of water and allows extremely loss of water into the urine. That simply, when there is no any ADH, the water will not be reabsorbed into the body. Okay, so there will be excess loss of water with the urine, and the urine will be so dilute. Okay, then again explaining, when there is no any ADH, the water will not be again reabsorbed into the body by the kidney. So most of the water will be lost through the urine. But when there is ADH, the permeability of the collecting ducts and tubules, those are the parts of nephrons, that is the basic unit of kidney. So when there is high presence of ADH, most of the waters will be reabsorbed and that will be conserved in the body, and that will produce very concentrated urine. Okay, try to understand this. So the main function of ADH is the decreased excretion of water by the kidneys. When there is no any ADH, the water will be highly released with the urine because there is no any reabsorption of this water in the kidneys. But when there is high presence of ADH, water will be reabsorbed into the body and less amount of water will be released with the urine, and at the time there will be a concentrated urine. So the main function of ADH is osmotic regulation, increased electrolyte concentration of the body fluid, increase the ADH in body, and again increased electrolyte concentration in body fluids increases the ADH in body. Concentrated body fluid stimulate the supraoptic nuclei to increase the ADH secretion, whereas dilute body fluid inhibited. Here the last point you can somewhat easily understand. So when the body fluids are concentrated, it has to be diluted. So it is stimulating the supraoptic nuclei to increase the ADH. So when there is a high amount of ADH, the water will be reabsorbed into the body, and when there is a dilute body fluid, the ADH production will be inhibited, and the secretion of the reabsorption of the water inside the body will be prevented, and the water will be released from with the urine in high level. And this high concentration of ADH also constrict the arterioles and throughout the body, and it will also increase the arterial pressure. And one of the stimuli causing the intense ADH secretion is also can decrease the blood volume. Oxytocin, the other hormone from the pituitary gland. So oxytocin, the main function of oxytocin is to contraction of pregnant uterus, especially through the end period of the gestation, and therefore it is believed that this hormone is least partially responsible for causing birth of the body, so birth of the baby. Oxytocin plays an important role in lactation, so it's helping in the contraction of mammary gland to release the milk. So the main function is contraction, okay? It is contracting the uterus to release the baby from the uterus, and it is also contract the mammary gland to remove the milk from the alveoli. And these are some parts of the female reproductive system. And this is just a parts of this, some of the glands, pancreas, and with it we can finish the endocrine system. And I think most possibly if you come back, I will try to have a class and explain it to all of you physically, because these lectures it's very difficult to conduct through the online system, okay? And please try to write all the notes, okay? I will possibly give the notes, and please write all the notes when you're coming physically. Then we can have about 4 or 5 class physically, and I'll explain all these things, okay? When we are having the physical class, I will not give any time to write, okay? Please write all these notes. You may have some screenshots. Please write all these notes and come. And we will have some physical classes, okay? Because this anatomy section is somewhat difficult to explain through the online system. Okay, anyway, thank you.